It rubs the lotion on its skin. It does this whenever it's told.
Mister, my family will pay cash. Whatever ransom you're asking for, they'll pay it.
It rubs the lotion on its skin or else it gets the hose again.
Me to see you, Gaston, looking so down in the dumps. Every guy here'd love to be you, Gaston, even when taking your lumps. There's no man in town as admired as you. You're everyone's favorite guy. Everyone's awed and inspired by you, and it's not very hard to see why. No one's slick as Gaston, no one's quick as Gaston, no one's neck's as incredibly thick as Gaston, or there's no man in town half as manly.
Welcome, skinned humps, to Geek Salad episode 213, No More Merciful Beheadings. I'm Andy.
I'm Mike.
I'm Joe.
I'm Catherine.
And today we have an insanely special guest. I am so happy to have her back. She was here last year when we talked about the movies of 1990. And now we are truly, madly, deeply thrilled to have back Em from the Verbal Diorama podcast.
And cancel Christmas. Hello.
Yes. No more scraps for lepers and orphans.
Hi, everyone. I'm so glad to be back. It's been a year.
It has been a year. And
Yeah.
this is, like, I know that there's so much here because 3 Keanu Reeves movies over the course of a 2-part episode is going to be really cool. And yes, this will be 2 parts. Just laying that out there for you.
Well, the sheer volume of movies that came out in 1991 just shocked me.
There were a lot of movies on this
Movies
list,
worth
Joe,
talking about, yeah.
that I was like, I thought that came out in 92. I thought that came out in 93.
Yeah.
So, wow. So, Em, tell us a little bit about your podcast for those who are not already in the know. We share audiences, but just so they are.
I think we probably share like 1 or 2 people, maybe.
Yeah. Maybe, yeah, or several. Who knows? Who knows? Tell us a little bit about Verbal Diorama.
Sure. So Verbal Diorama is hosted by me. I basically, because I'm ridiculous and clearly a glutton for punishment, I host a solo podcast, which is basically me doing everything. It's very hard work, very enjoyable. But I like to talk about the history and legacy of movies. So every week I take a movie and I basically talk about the history of it, the production, casting, trivia, basically anything that I can think of that will link to that movie, any little tidbits of information, I will put in an episode and I will put it out there. And basically that's what I really love to do. And I often feel like it's very easy to shit. I don't swear on my podcast, but I'm going to swear now. It's very easy to shit on movies. And, you know, there's a lot of movies that came out in 1991 that weren't particularly great, but also a lot of movies that were. But, you know, it's all subjective, really, at the end of the day. But ultimately, anytime a movie gets made, it is an achievement for that movie to get made, for all of those people to come together, to work together, and to get something out of the door. It is a phenomenon, really. And so I like to try and be as positive as possible. I'll be honest, I don't often feature movies that are completely terrible. I like to feature movies that I kind of feel are at least redeemable. And I like to talk about all sorts. So I like to talk about blockbusters. I like to talk about smaller movies that maybe didn't do so well. So I like to try and keep it, a good variety of stuff. But yeah, in a nutshell, you'll notice I don't give one-word answers. So in a nutshell, that's what I do. I've just spent like 3 hours telling you about my podcast. So it's been a pleasure, everyone. Thanks very much for having me. Bye.
And now we're on to part 2. Thank you, Em. Yeah, we are thrilled to have you back. 1991, as we mentioned, is really quite the year. And I just want like a little programming shift of what we usually do when we do these types of discussions. Usually, we put out the call to social media and ask for their feedback. However, we're going to save that until the end of part 2, only because there was a lot of lists. And while I do like to promote the other podcasts and participants that give us their feedback, I feel it's going to be a little more pertinent to not break up the conversation unless there's something very specific about a movie. So that will be in part 2. However, there were a few people who kind of got to buck that trend, if you will. So I want to read you an intro. This is from my college friend, Dave McLean, who's a friend of the show and author of the Time Travelers Resort and Museum. Dave writes that I feel like 1991 was the year that all the movies were made that we watched were on videotape at purchase. The wild paranoia ride of JFK sticks out as pretty memorable, as does the intense creepiness of Silence of the Lambs. However, if you were looking for a deep cut, I would have to recommend My Own Private Idaho, Gus Van Sant's remake of Henry IV, set among gay prostitutes in the Northwest. So not only does that cover the base of kind of like what this year includes, but it's also our first Keanu Reeves reference. So,
which is always good for me.
Well, yeah, because we're going to have several obligatory Keanu moments here because I listened to Jaws today. Woof.
Okay.
Woof. Wow. That was so, you stretched so much on that. You could have probably just like done like 3 hours of weight training afterwards for how just stretched you were for that. That is awesome. So as I mentioned, we will be putting the social media out at the end. However, frequent contributor to the show in terms of snark, our friend Steve from the Cape, will be adding his little nuggets and bon mots here and there. So we are going to cover the top, this is part 1, we are going to cover the top 15 top box office grossing movies of the year. And then in part 2, we will talk about everything else. So are we ready to kick this off, guys, with the first movie?
Yes.
Okay.
Let's go.
So coming in at $74.8 million, a movie Steve says, anyway, set a course for out there somewhere. Star Trek VI, The Undiscovered Country.
Tickle us, do we not laugh? Prick us, do we not bleed? Wrong us, shall we not revenge?
Captain! She's packing quite a wallop! Shields weakening!
Shields up. All right. Now we've given him something else to shoot at.
Aye, sir.
The game's afoot, huh?
Our rebels now are ended, Kirk. Cry havoc! And let's slip the dogs of war.
This is the movie that puts the lie to the whole even-numbered Star Trek movies are good.
See, I don't even...
I like Star Trek 6. I thought Star Trek 6.
I like it, but in the original cast, the OG cast, this is the weakest of the even numbered movies.
Yeah,
by
that's
a long
yeah.
shot.
That's a good way to put it. Yeah,
I thought it was the best way to just kind of
Well, and the book on the original cast.
Yeah, that would have been nice if Shatner hadn't gotten in his head that, I'll come back for the next movie. Oh, no, Bill, you don't have to.
Well, that's on Shatner.
Huh? Yeah,
that's all on him. The rest of the cast, a nice little ending. Well, except for Leonard Nimoy, but.
No, yeah, but he's Leonard Nimoy. He really is like the one person that I could watch in all the movies, and they just need to bring him back digitally now, or a hologram like they do with Tupac. Catherine M, thoughts on this? Catherine loves this one.
Yeah, I think it's great. I mean, obviously Shatner's going to Shatner all over it, but.
Oh man, I just stepped in a huge pile of Shatner.
But I thought the storytelling was good. I thought it was compelling. Although after the umpteenth Shakespeare quote.
Oh God, we get it. You're British Klingon. We get it.
But that actor is always spot on.
Yeah, Christopher Plummer. Come on.
Yeah.
I don't know. What is your like love-hate level of Star Trek? It's not something you and I have really talked a lot about.
I mean, there's a good reason for that. I have not seen this movie. It was only very recently, I think, end of last year, that I saw The Wrath of Khan for the first time, which I did enjoy a lot. I thought that was really great. But my history with Star Trek movies is pretty non-existent, actually, which is strange because I grew up watching, the original Star Trek used to be on British TV. I think it was on BBC Two. And we used to get repeats of that. And I grew up watching The Next Generation. So I did used to watch Star Trek, but I never really watched the movies. And then the J.J. Abrams movies came out. And I watched all of those, and I think the first one is really fun. And then then I realised after I saw The Wrath of Khan that it was basically the second rebooted Star Trek movie again. So yeah, I understand the comparisons now between Into Darkness and The Wrath of Khan for sure. But no, I've only seen The Wrath of Khan out of those original movies. So
check out Star Trek. Check out Star Trek 4. It is
Star Trek 4 is the best of
the six. Is that the one with the whales?
Yep.
Yes.
Easily the most fun.
Yeah. Oh, but yeah, if you have never seen Star Trek 6, you have missed out on Kim Cattrall as a Vulcan.
Yeah.
Oh, I do love Kim Cattrall, to be fair. I think she's awesome. So
and Christopher Plummer as a Klingon.
Yeah. Yeah, they got some big name actors.
I think they are available over here. I'm pretty certain they're on streaming over here.
They must be.
I watched Wrath of Khan and I was like, right then, I don't need to watch anything else. I'm done.
There's a cameo by Christian Slater in it as well.
I love a bit of 80s/90s Christian Slater.
Oh, well, you will get it. You will get it, my dear.
Okay, so now I'm going to go. I am going to go now. I'm going to go and watch Star Trek, whatever it was. It 6?
It's 6. Yeah.
Okay, so now I'm going to go and watch it. I'll see you later. Bye.
Bye.
You can tell us what you think in part 2.
I know. I will watch it at some point, I'm sure. I assume I might need to watch some of the others, though, to maybe get some things.
Honestly, no. Really. This one is more like a long-form TV episode. What's called the Captain's Collection, which is 2, 3, and 4, are the only ones that actually all tie together. So,
correction, actually, Star Trek 3 does have a connection to this one.
Yeah, that's right. Klingon bastards killed my son.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
Well, thank you for the spoiler for M.
She's gonna forget that. It's just like my forgettable Shatner impression.
I feel like an woman. I don't forget things.
Okay.
It's my job to remember things. That's cool.
Okay. All right. I think we need to move on now then to number 14 for the year. $77.8 million. Backdraft. Steve says, did you see Backdraft? Dude, you have to see Backdraft because we need to talk about Backdraft and how Backdraft changed my life. In fact, my top 10 list of movies from 1991 is watching Backdraft 10 times. Backdraft!
It's a living thing, Brian. It breathes, it eats, and it hates. The only way to beat it is to think like it. To know that this flame will spread this way across the door and up across the ceiling, not because of the physics of flammable liquids, but because it wants to. Some guys on this job firearms them. Makes them fight it on its level. But the only way to truly kill it is to love it a little. Just like Ronald.
Yeah, this is definitely the Dude Bros movie for 1991.
Oh my God. This movie, how is it that the old guys are the best things in this movie? And by old guys, I mean De Niro and Donald Sutherland.
What, you don't think Scott Glenn carried the movie?
Oh God. All right. Catherine, Mike.
I've seen this movie once. It's been so long. I most remember the score because they use it as the ending theme to Iron Chef, the original Japanese one.
Oh, they do?
Yeah, the original Japanese Iron Chef. The ending theme is the theme from Backdraft. They even have a credit for it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Never underestimate the power of the Yakuza then. Jeez. Catherine gets that joke. I seem to remember this movie being a lot bigger than it ended up being, according to the numbers.
Yeah. No, you're right. I mean, I remember it was a big deal when it came out. Everybody just would not stop talking about it. I mean, I enjoyed the movie. I thought it was a good movie when it first came out. I mean, I haven't seen it in 15 years, but it's not high on the watchability.
No, especially when you're a little older and you realize that Billy Baldwin talking to fire really isn't a good thing.
Well, no. Billy Baldwin is not a good thing.
That's true.
Yeah, you can just stop there.
Yeah.
Real quick, I just got to wonder if this movie had a Top Gun effect where it made a whole bunch of guys from our generation become firefighters.
I was wondering that. I don't know. All I know is that around the same time in our area, they had to rebuild the fire academy. I think it was like the one in Sudbury because the original one burned down.
Under mysterious circumstances.
Yep, exactly. Faux shadow. Have you seen Backdraft?
I have seen Backdraft.
Okay.
And I don't remember much about it other than there was lots of explosions and lots of fire and Kurt Russell.
Yeah.
So if you asked me to tell you the plot of Backdraft right now, it would be fire, explosions, Kurt Russell has to save probably somebody, I don't know, but I'm assuming, because it genuinely, I think this movie, I remember being quite big. I mean, obviously I was a child, but I do recall everyone talking about Backdraft, and then it just seems to have really disappeared. Like, it's a movie that no one talks about now. But I distinctly remember someone talking about the science of Backdraft and about how fires, about obviously if you open a door on a fire and something in my head is telling me that Backdraft was used in some way to teach us about keeping doors closed with fire. And I don't know exactly when or where that happened. But obviously they say, if there's a fire and if it's behind a door, don't open the door because the oxygen that you give the fire will, entice the flames into where you are. So I think, from a health and safety point of view, I think it's probably very relevant. But I don't remember it as, a good movie. But then I was probably quite young when I saw it. So, and I've never bothered to see it since.
Wow. I just looked up its Wikipedia page.
Yep.
Apparently, they made a sequel.
Yeah.
It was released direct to video in May 14th, 2019.
And was Billy Baldwin in that one too?
He was.
Of course he was. It's really interesting when you try to pinpoint the lesser Baldwin. Because there are so many of them.
Well, at least it's not Steve Baldwin.
That's true.
Donald Sutherland came back as well.
Oh my God! Well, Donald Sutherland's old, and he's just looking for work at this point. I think
he'll do just about anything for a paycheck. I think he was in Buffy. He was in Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
That's true.
He did National Lampoon's Animal House for just the paycheck for one day's filming.
Yeah, exactly, and you get to do it without pants on. What more could you want?
And he caused all sorts of shit on the Buffy set as well. So, can I come back for movies of 1992 to talk about Buffy?
Yes, of course you can.
Sweet.
Of course you can. Because not only do we have that, but we also have Bram Stoker's Dracula.
Yes. Actually, spoiler alert, that is going to be coming up on Verbal Diorama very soon. I'm very excited to talk about Dracula.
Oh, you are getting the audio clip, like the pristine audio clip of my Dracula cry then.
You're going to Budapest.
All right, so let's move on then to a movie I know is near and dear to far more people's hearts than I really wish was possible. $78.6 million. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2: The Secret of the Ooze.
Hi guys.
Yo, April! What it is? Yeah,
We brought the dinner.
let's eat.
Pizza.
Yep.
Again.
Pepperoni. Please. A moment to reflect. Okay, just like Ninja Pizza.
Ninja pizza?
Pizza that vanished quickly without trace.
Yo, Mikey, toss me a ninja slice.
Donnie, Statue of Liberty.
Yeah.
Come on, throw it.
Come over here.
Okay.
Mike,
Here,
no. I'm right here. He's in the 40s. He's in the 20s. He looks. He rolls back. He sees Pop in the end zone. He goes deep. Aha! Touchdown. Yeah.
If you had told me that this movie made that much money, I would have told you were lying. Because I remember seeing this. I went to see this during our April spring break. I was with James. I was with Moose. We were down in Virginia for spring break.
Yeah.
We went to the movie theater to watch this. He and I were the only ones in the theater, and this was like not that far after release. I think it was like a week. It was like a week or two after it was released, and we're like, "Wow, okay."
This was the first movie I remember ever seeing in theaters.
Wow.
Yep. For the longest time, my parents did not let us go into movies. And then one time we were down on the Cape, and I guess they just wanted an afternoon around, so they gave us money, sent us down to Mashpee Commons. We went to see the movies, and we went to see Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2: The Secret of the Ooze, and I've loved it ever since.
This is an interesting movie because the first movie is legitimately a good movie.
Yeah.
It is really good. Yeah. But some parents groups had problems and took issue with the amount of weapons being displayed. Right. So while the Turtles had their weapons completely holstered at all times, you never once see anybody pull out a sai or pull out a katana or nunchucks or anything. That's when you get them using scenes of like 2 pepperoni sticks and
yo-yo.
What's that? Oh, the yo-yo. Yes. Oh,
around the world.
Oh boy, I don't know. There's like a certain time and place and age, and it completely skipped over me after the second movie.
Come on, David Warner has never been greater than in this movie, except for maybe Tron.
I forget he was in this movie. That's how long it's been. You know, it's like one of those things I have to keep reminding myself. Vanilla Ice is in this movie, and Kevin Nash.
God, that's right, he is. Yeah, he is.
Kevin Nash is in this movie as the Super Shredder.
Yeah, Super Shredder. That was the. I mean, my eyes just bugged out when I saw that. I was like, "This is so cool."
For the whole minute and a half, he actually showed up before they dropped more crap on him, and
that's all you needed. Gone. That's all you needed to just revel in the awesomeness that is Super Shredder.
I was going to ask, is this the one with Vanilla Ice? Because
I
couldn't remember. I know that the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movies were on quite a lot in my house because me and my brother used to watch them quite a lot. Yeah. I mean, I lament my childhood taste in movies, but I do, looking back at the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movies, I've not seen them actually in their entirety since I was a child. Bit like Super Mario Brothers, I kind of feel like it would ruin the magic for me because I rewatched Super Mario Brothers and I realised that childhood me was just had really shit taste in films. But the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movies, I mean, they do kind of blur into one for me, and I think that was because we watched them on repeat quite a lot. But I do remember Vanilla Ice, and I do remember the what is it, the Ninja Rap or whatever it's called, when the turtles go on stage and they do a little dance and all of that sort of stuff. I mean, to me, it's basically inoffensive fun, but I've not actually seen this one or the previous one for, well, pretty much since I was a kid. So, but I mean, really, it's the sort of thing that Verbal Diorama is very into, with all the practical effects and the puppet work and all of that sort of stuff. So, I mean, I'm never going to say never that I'll cover Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, because I feel like all of the costume work that's done in those movies, I think, and the animatronics and everything like that. I mean, it was impressive back then. So I feel like it's either going to look great still, or it's going to age slightly. But I kind of feel like it probably still does look kind of great. But yeah, I don't remember the plot. I just remember Vanilla Ice. And no one wants to remember Vanilla Ice.
Yeah, I mean, all the animatronic creature costumes were created by the Henson Creature Shop.
Right.
And the movie was actually dedicated to Jim Henson.
Right, because this one came out. This was the one that came out after he had died.
Yeah, less than a year before.
Yeah. My biggest takeaway from this movie is at the very beginning, because it's just like this montage of people walking around the streets of New York eating pizza. And the way it's filmed makes me just never want to eat pizza again. It's just like, oh, none of this is appealing, and I love pizza.
I've seen it. I think I watched this one last, maybe 5 or 6 years ago. It's not a great movie, but it's so much. I still have so much fun watching it. I don't know about how your mileage would vary on that, but I still have fun watching. I'll watch. If it's on TV or just pop it in, I'll do it, because why not? It's still fun.
All right. Well, let's move on then to number 12, $79 million, Cape Fear.
You're not going to hurt me, are you?
I'm not going to hurt you at all. There's no hurting here, Danielle.
Between us, there's no anger, nothing.
Just a search for truth. I mean, did you judge me? Did you get angry at me when you caught me smoking the grass?
No.
But your parents, they judged you. They got plenty angry at you, didn't they?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. They punished you for their sins. What'd they do?
My dad, they just yelled a whole lot, and my mom cried, and my dad said I couldn't drive a Cherokee.
Yeah, they punished you for their sins. And you resent that, and you should resent it. But Professor Duride has a little advice for you. You shouldn't damn him. Don't judge him. Just forgive them, for they know not what they do.
Well, why do you hate my father?
I don't hate him at all. Oh, no. I pray for him. I'm here to help him.
Never seen this one.
No, I've never seen it either.
No.
I've seen bits and pieces, but I haven't sat through it.
Ooh, this is a good one. This is one I haven't watched in forever, and I'm curious if it's streaming anywhere. It's a real departure for Scorsese because at this point, it was just like mob movies all the time. This is his follow-up to Goodfellas.
Well, this is also a remake.
It is a remake, and he actually does a very good job trying to use a lot of the film tricks that were done in the black and white original. And there's even, was it Robert Mitchum who played Max Cady in the original? He has a part in this movie as a lawyer.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, this is a fantastic movie, and quite honestly, the best performance in this movie, and De Niro is always awesome. Let's give that to him. He's always awesome. Juliette Lewis steals this movie. She's so good in this. And she was playing all she was doing in this up to this point was just playing disinterested, drugged out teenagers.
This was really like her breakout role, wasn't it? Like this was the one.
She was nominated for an Oscar for this.
Yeah, this is like really launched her into being a star.
Yeah. Oh, she was fantastic in this movie.
The closest thing I've ever come to watching this movie is it's the basis for my favorite Simpsons Sideshow Bob episode.
Oh God, Cape Fear.
Yeah,
that one. That's great. So, you guys haven't seen it. I do. All right, so we'll move on, but I definitely recommend watching Cape Fear. So number 11, $82.4 million, Fried Green Tomatoes.
And my landing shall not be
Excuse me, I was waiting for that space.
Yeah? Talk. Face it, lady, we're younger and faster.
Tawanda.
Face it, girls. I'm older and I have more insurance.
Never seen it.
It's a classic of, 90s female empowerment.
Yep.
Put it that way.
I guess this is the movie that if any girl needs a good crying session, this is the one they want to watch.
Now,
or wants to feel like they can, beat something up.
This movie,
we're younger and faster. Yeah, I'm older and have more insurance.
Did this one star either Sally Fields, Julie Roberts, or Olivia Dukakis?
No, this actually was Jessica Tandy and Kathy Bates.
Oh, okay.
And
I don't
remember the younger women.
Hang on, I'll get it.
Okay.
But I feel like the blonde we should know, and I can't remember if we're supposed to remember who Ruth is.
I've not seen the movie, but I've got a bit of an interesting sort of semi-story about it.
Yeah.
In that, I remember when this movie was advertised, So first of all, it was advertised in the UK as Fried Green Tomatoes at the Whistle Stop Cafe. That was the full title. And also, I remember.
Yeah.
Sorry?
That's the title of the book that it's based on.
Oh, okay. So I've always known it as that, the full title. But also, I distinctly remember when I was a kid, I didn't understand why the title was wrong, because we call them tomatoes. And I didn't understand why they were tomatoes. Because I was like, but it's tomatoes. Why are they saying it wrong? And I didn't realise that obviously in America, you say tomato, we say tomato. But yeah, so yeah, that's. I remember being very cross at the advertisement at the time because I felt like they were getting it wrong, even though it was obviously an American announcer, and he'd be like, fried green tomatoes at the Whistle Stop Cafe. And I'd be like, why are you saying tomatoes? But yeah, apparently there are some differences between English American and English vernacular that I now realise, now that I've grown up a little bit, I realise that, I mean, you are still kind of wrong, I'll be honest. But if that's the way you want to say it, then I mean, I'll accept that. Yeah. we have it as the full title over here, so we've never known it as Fried Green Tomatoes. It's always Fried Green Tomatoes at the Whistle Stop Cafe, but I've never seen it. So.
Okay.
So some of the characters from the actors that played the stuff that they're telling it from in the past, Mary Stuart Masterson, Mary Louise Parker, and Chris O'Donnell's in it.
Oh, is he?
He is.
Really? Interesting. Huh. Okay. This is a movie for wine moms before they coined the term wine moms.
Yep. Yeah, oh yeah, I had a Tawanda bumper sticker.
Oh God. Oh boy. All right. Well, let's move on then to we're in the top 10. Number 10, $86.9 million. The Naked Gun 2.5, The Smell of Fear.
Ed, is it just my imagination, or is the whole world crazy?
No, it's just a small percentage of the population, Frank.
I hope you're right. It's just that I don't know if I fit anymore.
You're still thinking about Jane, aren't you?
She's part of my life, Ed. Always will be. Think about her constantly. But it's done. The minute I heard her say, get out of my life forever, I knew it was over. You know, sometimes I think about you and Edna. That's when I envy you, Ed, because you have someone. You had the same person every day for over 30 years. You wake up with her, you eat with her, you sleep with her. Make love to the same woman. You spend every possible waking moment together. Well, I'm out running around with some 20-year-olds who just want to have a good time and cheap sex. Girls who can't say no. Girls who can't get enough. More. It's your turn now to wear the handcuffs. I just want to love, Ed.
I'm sure you'll find love, Frank.
Not as good as the first one, but still, I think it's a solid comedy.
It's enjoyable, but yeah, I agree with Mike. I mean, it's hard to top the first one.
Yeah,
yeah,
it works. It works for what it is.
Yeah.
In terms of the Zaz sequels, this is leagues better than Airplane 2.
Oh yeah,
God, yeah.
But yeah, I mean, there's still a lot of fun stuff in there. I remember seeing that, on the poster below the title, they would have like Leslie Nielsen, Priscilla Presley, but they'd also like give them, Frank Drebin, and then they had Robert Goulet because we couldn't afford Wayne Newton. So I think that there's a lot of great gags in this movie. There's another Zaz movie that's coming up in part 2 that we'll talk about in a little bit. But anybody have any thoughts on this one?
I think I saw it, but I don't remember it.
Yeah, I think I've seen it, but I would definitely remember The Naked Gun, but I don't remember The Naked Gun 2.5. But I feel like I've seen it because I feel like I've seen all three of those movies, but I kind of feel like they're not very indistinguishable from each other for me.
That's fair.
But I mean, they're fine. Like Leslie Nielsen, I think, is a bit of a comedy genius, and I always enjoy him in comedy roles. But yeah, I couldn't tell you what the plot of this movie is, other than Frank Drebin probably does something hilarious and has to save someone. I don't know.
Yep. My favorite line is just like he gets caught by the bad guys and he's wearing a wire. And the key word for for his backup is "I love it."
Yes.
And so they're patting him down. And he says, and they're like, "What's that smell?" He's like, "Oh, that would be me. I've been swimming in raw sewage. I love it."
Yeah, it's got its moments. Again, it's something I need to go back and watch again.
Yeah, as far as sequels go, Zaz usually doesn't have the best track record, but I think this is probably the best one.
Yeah, I would agree hardly with that one. Even though there are some great gags in Hot Shots Part 2.
Oh, I forgot that was theirs as well. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
That's probably their best sequel.
All right, so let's move on then to number 9, which took in $89.3 million. Father of the Bride.
Master Bunks, I do this for a loving, Trust me. A moving van must take everything out. It's an Orthodox van, so sure, yeah. But we need Arnie, Mrs. Bunks, come this way, please. So, what do you think of the singer? We do have other choices.
I'd like to see him.
Good, that's no problem. I came to her, everyone, and my best friend in the whole world, Hank Jukuninski. Chef in the Haven.
Hi.
Hi. If I could have a moment of your time to discuss the manual.
The menu. Remind me. The menu, yes.
Unfortunately, Hank didn't speak English, so I will translate.
Frank, that'll be a big help.
Yes, confeitaket is second to lichten. Chef neksheli veel, bagage like that. Never shoot, abagos, like a patiti puffer. Chef, put the patata. Chef. That is him. This is what Hank seduced. For the main course, he wants to serve well.
Oh, really? I have a problem with that.
With what?
With veal, I keep reading there's a lot of inhumane treatment in the way they treat the cows.
I read that too. You're very chic. No val. So, the dali seafood, which is also chic, or fowl, which is not cheap, but cheap.
I love Father of the Bride.
Yeah.
I love it.
Very charming.
It's incredibly charming. It's very sweet. I am a huge fan of Steve Martin. I think he is so great.
Oh, yeah.
And this is one of my favourite roles of his because he's just such a typical dad. And I just think it's really sweet, really charming. And I have a lot of time for this movie. Obviously, much better than the second movie by a long shot.
Yeah.
But if this is on TV, I will happily sit and watch it. I've got no quibbles about, if I find it on streaming, I'll watch it. I just think it's really, really lovely. I didn't know it was a remake, actually, at all. When I first saw it, it wasn't until much later that I realised it was a remake.
Yeah.
I thought this was an original movie. But no, I've never seen the original, so I can't compare them. But Steve Martin's great. The whole cast is pretty great. The comedy is sometimes a little bit too slapstick, maybe. But I kind of forgive it for a lot of its silliness because it can get a little bit too silly. But I think it's lovely.
Yeah, there's a lot to love about this movie. Martin Short is fantastic in this.
For me, I love Steve Martin, but for me, Martin Short steals every scene he's in.
Oh, he's Frank. Is he Frank?
Yeah, he's Frank.
Oh, yeah.
there was also I remember this was when Autumn and I first got engaged, we were kind of looking at different venues to have our reception, and my father-in-law was like, I have a great idea. The steak pit. Just directly, and he said it the same way that Steve Martin did. And it's fantastic. It's just the way that he said that.
Oh.
And because, now I know how much weddings cost. Dang. But yeah, no, I think this movie is very charming. I haven't watched this in forever, and I kind of need to.
Well, I think the important question here is, though, Andy, did you go to the steak pit?
No.
No.
Yeah. And the question still remains, are we doing Stonehenge tonight? So, all right. So if we got a movie that we're going to spend the least amount of time talking about right now, it's number 8. $101.5 million, Sleeping with the Enemy.
Hello?
Hello, Mr. Burney. My name is Vanessa Shelley.
Yes?
I hope I'm not disturbing you. I just heard about Laura and I wanted to call and tell you how much we'll miss her.
Thank you. How did you know her?
From the YWCA.
No, you must be speaking of someone else. My wife never went to the YWCA.
No. We took swimming there Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 8 a.m.
Look, there's obviously some mistake. My wife drowned. She couldn't swim.
Well, at first she couldn't, but she became a good swimmer.
I'm sure you have the wrong woman.
This is odd. Mr. Burney, your wife studied gymnastics, didn't she?
No, my wife never studied gymnastics.
That's strange. She told us that's how she got all those terrible bruises. Mr. Burney.
Okay.
Never seen it.
Nope.
I know it's a Julia Roberts movie, I think.
Yeah,
that
it
the right
is.
one?
Oh, yeah, you think. Yeah, it is.
I've never seen it.
Oh, man. I only remember this movie because this was around the time that like Hollywood was trying to make Patrick Bergin happen.
Who?
And Patrick Bergin essentially was like the poor man's Kevin Kline. But he wasn't that funny. And he did this, and around the same time of the release of Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, there was another Robin Hood movie with Patrick Bergin as Robin Hood and Uma Thurman as Maid Marian. And
oh my God.
Oh yeah,
that's just a license to print money right there.
Yep. And I think we can kind of leave it at that. It is not a. It is not a well-loved movie. It's one of those movies that makes a ton of money, and then a year later, everyone's like, "Huh?
What movie?"
They made this?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Is that the one where the guy is dying? No, that's Dying Young, also from this year.
Oh, God.
All right, so number 7, $113.5 million, and a movie that Steve says, I'm fortunate enough to be at an age where being hot for teenager Christina Ricci wasn't creepy. Yet being hot for Wednesday Addams makes you as creepy as fuck forever. It's the Addams Family.
Look at her. I would die for her. I would kill for her. Either way, what bliss? Unhappy, darling?
Oh, yes. Yes, completely.
Gomez. Son, il me perce comme un poignard.
Oh, Tish. That's French.
Oui.
Cara mia.
En garde, Monsieur Soleil!
Gomez.
Querida.
Last night you were unhinged. You were like some desperate, howling demon. You frightened me. Do it again.
A good movie made great by its sequel. Because its sequel is so good.
One of the few times when the sequel far surpasses the original.
Yeah,
right. I mean, really, let us give a shout out to Raul Julia because he owns this movie.
Yes,
he does.
Him and Angelica Houston.
Yes, Angelica Houston and Raul Julia if there's ever going to be a follow up to John Astin as Gomez Adams, you can't go wrong with Raul Julia.
Yeah, their relationship is so wonderful.
Yeah.
I feel like my whole time in podcasting has come to this moment where I can talk about the Addams Family. Because I have not featured the Addams Family. I will be featuring the Addams Family. I feel like I'm giving away all my secrets now. I'm going to be doing Dracula. I'm going to be doing the Addams Family. They're both going to be coming in October. The Addams Family is genuinely one of my favourite movies ever. I love the sequel too. Don't get me wrong, but I have a huge fondness for the Addams Family, for everything that movie went through to actually get made in the first place. And there's so much greatness in this movie. Yeah. You've mentioned Raul Julia. I mean, there's no one for me who encompasses Gomez Adams more than Raul Julia could. Angelica Houston, both of them perfectly cast. I love their relationship. I love their passion. I love the sex positivity between them. The fact that they will just go off and bang each other because they're so hot for each other. And this is a kids' movie. You know, it is a family movie. Yeah. And yet you've basically got them drooling over each other. And I love the fact that they love each other so much. Yeah. I am such a huge fan. I am a huge fan of Christina Ricci as well. Yes. I think she is brilliant as Wednesday. And I mean, yeah, you could say it's a very basic story. And, you know, the whole Fester, who is he really? You know, they're bringing like a fake Fester. And then it turns out, spoiler alert, he's the real Fester. All of that. I mean, it's completely ridiculous. But I absolutely adore it. I watch it more than I'm willing to admit. I will watch the Addams Family because I just think it's so brilliant. And when they announced the animated version, which I've never seen, I'll be honest, I was really mostly disappointed because I know there was like a third Addams Family live action movie, which I think was straight to video. Yeah. I don't want to watch the animated one because I feel like Raul Julia is Gomez, Angelica Houston is Morticia, Christina Ricci is Wednesday, and that lad, I can never remember his name, is Pugsley.
Well, you know what? I've actually seen the animated one, and it's cute. And credit to Oscar Isaac, you know, maybe because I just have a man crush on him, but he does
that's totally why.
He does a very good job as Gomez. It's not. I don't want to say he's channeling Raul Julia, but he does make the character his own.
I'm willing to give it a shot for Oscar Isaac because I'll admit I am willing to do a lot for Oscar Isaac.
You're not there's a lot of people who are willing to do a lot for Oscar Isaac.
But I just don't. I feel like the partnership of Raul Julia and Angelica Houston. I just think it's absolute cinematic.
Yeah, and they ooze chemistry.
Absolutely.
And
you look into what Angelica Houston had to go through to even walk. When she was wearing that dress, she basically had to. I think she had like a backboard or something like that, and it was really uncomfortable for her, and all of that sort of stuff. It's really fascinating. But yeah, I'll talk about that more in my episode on the Addams Family, which is going to be out in October. Plug. But I love the Addams Family. And Addams Family Values is fantastic as well. I think you're absolutely right. I think it is a fantastic sequel. But I have so much love for this movie, and I finally get to tell someone how much I love the Addams Family.
Nice. I really... there's a lot about this movie, and Christina Ricci is such... Like, this is a breakout role for her.
Literally.
Mm-hmm.
She is fantastic in this. And, you know, it's like, I showed this to my daughter, and she absolutely loved it. Absolutely loved it. And then I showed her the sequel. She was like even more in love with that one. So definitely looking forward to 2 years from now. We got to make a mental note because 1993 will have Addams Family Values and the Super Mario Brothers movie. So you got to come back for those.
Well, at the moment, I'm coming back for most of the years, aren't I? Because
I think you are. We got to leave up to 99.
Yeah,
you and I are stuck in 99.
So you've basically got me booked for the next 8 years at least.
Yeah. So, all right. So let's move on then to number 6, $119.6 million at a movie. Steve says, I don't have a good joke for Hook beyond it looking like a Nickelodeon game show that somehow managed to make $300 million.
I've waited long to shake your hand with this. Peter Pan, prepare to meet thy doom. Dark and sinister man, have at thee. Don't you love it, Maddie? Once you shed blood and dole out cruelty, it's all to stop. It's a pirate's life, my lad. Jack!
Don't I know him, Captain?
No, son, you've never seen him before in your life. Jack! You won't believe this, but I found my happy thought. Took me 3 days to find it. But guess what happened when I did? Huh? I went. You know what my happy thought was?
It was you.
Bangarang.
This movie really is an either love it or hate it kind of movie. And by hate, I don't mean
anyone
hate,
who hates this movie.
dislike.
I don't understand anyone who hates this movie. I don't get it.
Yep.
Please explain to me.
This movie is pure joy.
I love Hook. Hook is incredible. I've done an episode on Hook. It's a wonderful movie, and I will not accept any negativity for Hook because it's brilliant.
Yeah, Andy.
Amen.
All right, Catherine, you're very quiet.
I don't like. I saw it.
Yeah.
I don't remember it very much. Like mostly I remember, like trivia, as in that outfit, the Hook costume was so hot they had to like run cooling lines through it to keep him air conditioned.
Yeah.
I remember that better. I remember that fact better than I remember the movie.
I think a lot of my issues with this movie are the fact that this was at a time when a lot of movies were essentially vilifying work. Like the parents have. I understand that, especially as a dad, that you need to make that time with your kids, but they really take it to such an extreme in this. And there's a lot of it just feels like there's a lot of moments in this movie they're forced upon you to try to keep it fun and keep it relevant. And there's just something about this movie that just doesn't click with me. And God bless you if you like this movie. I'm happy you find something that you enjoy. I just am not one of those people. And I know that Spielberg is with me on this. So
look,
I sided with the director.
I don't care what Steven Spielberg says about his own movie. So Steven Spielberg has also said that he's not seen it in a long time, and he is willing to revisit it and see if it actually has changed his mind. So I believe I implored him in the episode that I did on Hook to rewatch Hook, because I do think there's a lot of value in that movie. I'm a huge Robin Williams fan anyway, and basically I grew up on Robin Williams. So to me, this is pure, unadulterated Robin Williams. When he's the businessman at the start and when he shouts at his children, it genuinely upsets me because I'm like, that's not Robin Williams. Robin Williams doesn't shout at children. So the whole, and I appreciate the criticisms of this movie, the fact that he doesn't actually turn into Peter Pan until way past the halfway mark. And this is a long movie as well. It's like almost 2.5 hours long, I believe.
Yeah.
So this is an incredibly long movie, but it never felt long to me as a kid watching it, because I was so enraptured by Neverland. And, you know, you look into the issues that they had on set and the whole thing with Julia Roberts and what she was going through at the time. She was vilified by the press at the time.
Yeah.
She was really going through it. And it's just, you know, the sort of thing that's not really, you know, acceptable to be talking about anyone's private life, you know, when they're trying to do a job. But I appreciate that, you know, that there are going to be reasons why people don't like Hook. I just refuse to accept them. It's a movie full of joy. It is completely bangarang, and I adore Hook.
Yeah.
So again, I feel like this is my moment. I've already spoken about Hook at length on my own podcast, but this is my moment to come on Geek Salad and stick up for Hook, because I know he hates the movie, and I feel like I need to basically be on the other end and say, Andy, you're wrong.
Well,
Yay!
I have posited to my kids. I asked them if they wanted to watch it. They said, "Yeah, sure, why not?" I'm going to let them make it. My daughter always starts most conversations about movies off with, "Is it bad?" And I'm like, "I'm going to let you decide. I will just simply let you decide." So,
But
anyway.
The fact that you've said, I'll let you decide, rather than it's really great, she's already got like a predetermined thought in her own mind.
I'm not going to lie to her.
You don't like the movie. You clearly don't like the movie because you didn't say it was great. I feel like if you introduce a movie to your kids, then I think you should just say everything's great, even if it's not, because then they are going to be able to form their own judgment.
Or you could
Daddy,
say,
you lied to me.
Or you could say,
yeah.
Exactly. She asks you if it's good, you say it could be.
No, Andy, it would have been. It could have been.
Yep. Yeah. Oh, what could have been?
Rufy. Oh.
All right, let's move on then to number 5. $124 million, City Slickers.
What's going on?
Barry can pick out the exact right flavor of ice cream to follow any meal. Go ahead. Challenge him.
Challenge him.
Come on.
Franks and beans.
Scoop of chocolate, scoop of vanilla. Don't waste my time. Come on. Push me.
Sea bass.
Grilled.
Sauteed.
I'm with you.
Potatoes au gratin. Asparagus.
Rum raisin.
Woof! Woof! What? How do you know he's right?
How do we know? 1,400 retail outlets across the country. That's how we know.
Oh, man.
I haven't seen this one in ages.
I haven't either. And this one feeds into the same complaint I had about Hook with the dad, that just like they're defined by their career and only by their career. And there's a lot of great funny moments in this movie, but anything where somebody tries to give him a pep talk is the worst thing in this movie.
I don't know. I think didn't Jack Palance get nominated for an Academy Award for this?
Jack Palance won an Oscar for this movie.
Yeah,
This is when he did the push-ups at the Oscar.
Yeah, he did the one-arm push-ups. Billy Crystal, was hosting that year, and Jack Palance comes up to accept the award, and the first thing he says was, "Billy Crystal, I've crapped bigger than him."
Have you seen this one?
I'm actually just having a quick look on Wikipedia, but I don't think I have seen it. Or if I have, I definitely don't remember it. So
the story is about it's a guy in his, my God, I think he was supposed to be in his late 30s. So I'm already feeling old. Because this is where his midlife crisis hits.
Yeah, he's turned 39.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, youngin. And he and his friends usually do like these adventure vacations, and they open the movie with them running from the bulls in Pamplona.
Yep.
And so he's feeling really low about himself, and he's about to go on another vacation with his family, and his family says, "We don't want you on this vacation. Go with your friends, have another vacation." And in a line that turns my spine to glass, "Go find your smile, Mitch." So he goes to a dude ranch where they are going to bring cattle from like one farm 2 states over into another farm. And there are hijinks that ensue, and there was a lot of fun stuff because I really like Billy Crystal and I like his delivery, but this isn't his best work, nor is it his worst, but it's definitely a Billy Crystal vehicle. And by the way, it is directed by Ron Underwood, who directed one of your favorite movies, Tremors.
Great
which we talked about last
year.
About the movies of 1990.
Yeah.
Which I also talked about on my podcast. Plug.
Yes, that's why I brought it up.
I just looked this one up on Wikipedia. For some reason, I kept forgetting that Bruno Kirby was in this one and not John Lovitz, because John Lovitz is in the sequel.
Yeah.
And the less said about the sequel, the better.
The better, yeah.
Yeah.
Despite John Lovitz being in it, because John Lovitz always makes things great.
There was a line in this movie that is it's a great line. Daniel Stern has it. So Daniel Stern has been having an affair with a girl working in his the grocery store that he manages, and the grocery store is owned by his father-in-law, and the wife is screaming at him, and she's like, "Oh, I'm gonna go call my father." He's like, "Yeah, good luck trying." Like he's even available. Isn't tonight the night he hangs out with all the rest of the escaped Nazis? And then she screams back at him, "I hate you." And she's like, "I hate you more. If hate were people, I'd be China."
Oh.
So it is. There are great lines in this movie. I'm going to say it's been at least 25, 26 years since the last time I saw this movie.
Wow. Jake Gyllenhaal.
I can't remember if I've seen it since it was in theaters. I can't remember.
For a movie that's quote unquote so beloved, it really doesn't get a lot of talk, and I haven't seen it in 20, 25 years. It's not like one of those movies where I feel I have to I stop and watch it or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
Jake Gyllenhaal is in this movie.
Oh, that's right. He's his son, I think.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's move on then to the Best Picture winner of 1991, $130.7 million. Number 4, Silence of the Lambs.
That expires in 1 week. You're not real FBI, are you?
I'm still in training at the academy.
Jack Crawford sent a trainee to me.
Yes, I'm a student. I'm here to learn from you. Maybe you can decide for yourself whether or not I'm qualified enough to do that.
That is rather slippery of you, Agent Starling. Sit, please. Now then, tell me, what did Miggs say to you? Multiple Miggs in the next cell. He hissed at you. What did he say?
He said, I can smell your cunt.
I see. I myself cannot. You use Evian skin cream. And sometimes you wear lead at home. But not today.
I'll just be straight up and honest, that I have never seen The Silence of the Lambs.
What?
I know.
I mean, I've never seen it either.
Oh, well, that's
Really?
good, because I kind of felt like I was probably going to be the only person, because I just feel like I've been put off watching it because people know that I'm not a huge fan of, well, I know it's not really classed as a horror movie, I don't think. I suppose it's classed more as a thriller.
Yeah, it's a psychological thriller.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of those. And as the years have progressed and people are like, oh, you've got to watch Silence of the Lambs, it'll really shit you up. I'm like, I don't want to be shit up. So I've basically avoided it all of my life. So I know the rough plot and I know who's in it and I know roughly what happens and all of that. And I know the famous lines, but I will probably never see Silence of the Lambs. So yeah, that's all I have to say.
Yeah, typically when I watch a movie, if there's cannibalism in it, I do not want to watch it.
Yeah.
It's just one of my turnoffs. Sorry.
Well, the interesting thing about this movie is that, well, first of all, the magnetism of Anthony Hopkins in this movie, you cannot deny it. He's in this movie, I think they tabulated it's either 7 or 12 minutes. In the grand scheme of things, this is Jodie Foster's movie. Just
Right. But which is kind of funny because, yeah, it is Jodie Foster's movie, but all anybody talks about is Anthony Hopkins' character.
Yeah. Because he steals every single scene of every frame. You can't take your eyes off of him.
Right.
He's just so magnetic and you can just feel the evil in him. But he's
some actors can just do that, like Dame Judi Dench in Shakespeare in Love. I don't remember much of the rest of that movie, but her 3 minutes on screen are amazing.
And the funny thing is, a lot of people, it's like you don't realize that this movie is a follow-up to Manhunter.
It is, yeah. It is a follow-up to Manhunter, even though they took it in a completely different creative direction than Manhunter. Exactly. Manhunter was made to kind of like emulate Miami Vice, like the aesthetic of a Miami Vice film. In fact, I think Michael Mann directed Manhunter.
I believe you're right.
Jonathan Demme did such great work in this movie. He really, truly did. And I don't want to take away from Jodie Foster. I think Jodie Foster gives possibly her best performance in this movie. She's fantastic.
Right.
And it was kind of a loss when they brought Julianne Moore to replace her in the follow-up.
Yeah.
So. Because
Julianne Moore is good. Is quite good when she does what she does, but she's not Jodie Foster.
Well, it's funny. Jodie Foster. You talk about Jodie Foster. Diane's watches Clarice, which is the TV series on CBS.
Yeah,
right.
Which is basically supposed to be the direct sequel to Silence of the Lambs. Like it takes place immediately after. And I always comment when she's watching, like, man, the actress who plays Clarice is trying so hard to channel Jodie Foster. She's trying to do the accent and everything. And it's like, oh, okay, come on.
And you know what the funny thing is too, for a movie that is designated, it is a psychological thriller. It is designated as horror, and there are very few actual graphic scenes in this movie that would denote horror. I mean, the most graphic thing is when Lecter gets his hands on those guards, and that's as graphic as it gets. But I swear to you, it is such a well put together movie. I haven't watched it in a few years, but I guarantee it's aged. Other than like the rampant homophobia in this movie, which has already been kind of called out, it is a very good movie.
Yeah, I'm probably never going to watch it.
Chicken.
I know. No, look, I'm not Marty McFly. Like, you can't make me do something by calling me a chicken.
All right, well, let's move on then to number 3 for the year, $165.4 million. And Steve says, technically, nobody in Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves is speaking English the way it was spoken in the 12th century, so why don't y'all shut the fuck up? Also, why does Kevin Costner get all that heat and not Christian Slater? And Steve, I'll tell you why. Because leading up to the release of Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, people still couldn't shut the fuck up about Dances with Wolves and how amazing Kevin Costner is and what a goddamn genius he is. There are making ofs of Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves that go into the genius of Kevin Costner. I want that to sit and marinate for a second.
We reckon he's nicked 3 to 4 million in the last 5 months, sire.
All right, then, fine. Raise the bounty on his head. 25,000 crowns.
Begging your pardon, sire, it won't do no good. How much you raise it?
Really, Scribe, and why is that?
Because, sire, the poor, you see, he gives them what he takes, so, well, sire, they love him.
Just a minute. Robin Hood steals money from my pocket, forcing me to hurt the public, and they love him for it?
Yes.
That's it, then. Cancel the kitchen scraps for lepers and orphans. No more merciful beheadings. And call off Christmas.
Okay. The genius of Kevin Costner. But here we are. Domestically, this was the number 2 movie of the year, but I tried to pull global numbers, but they weren't really tracking all that well. So, yeah, $165.4 million is the reported gross of Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves. What are your thoughts?
Well, I went to see this opening night in full costume with a bunch of other.
That's more than my thoughts are worth.
I remember. I remember when it came out. It was a huge thing because I don't know if you remember that movie theater on 110 and right off of 110 in Chelmsford.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
Being right next to Toy World or whatever it was, and me, James, and Matt White went to see it opening night, and it was filled to the brim with everybody from Acton Boxborough.
Oh God.
Oh God, yeah, exactly. And I remember it was a pretty raucous thing. I mean, people enjoyed it and thought it was a great movie. And I mean, I enjoyed it. I thought it was a good movie, but I'm like, it was forgettable.
Yeah.
You know, outside of the theme song that got played at every prom afterwards.
Oh God.
That Bryan Adams song was number 1 here in the UK for something like 16 weeks.
Oh my
I think it held the record at one point of being like the longest, the song that's been at number 1 the longest. So this movie was huge over here.
I would have
Genuinely
expatriated if that were the case. Oh my goodness.
Jesus, and this is and the UK gave us John Lennon and everything else.
Yeah. I saw this movie at the Maynard Theater. So like that little hole in the wall theater.
Yeah.
And so I'm just going to say it because apparently nobody else brought it up. Alan Rickman is almost legitimately the only reason I really love this movie.
He saved this movie. I mean,
yeah.
I think this is the Alan Rickman we kind of came to fall in love with.
Yes.
Yep. I don't know if I've ever actually seen this movie.
Oh my goodness.
I know I've seen Robin Hood Men in Tights a lot, but I don't think I've ever actually seen. I've seen bits and pieces, but I don't think I've ever actually watched the whole thing all the way through.
Wow. We showed this to my daughter not too long ago. And she was like, it's okay. I'm like, yeah, no, exactly. It's okay. But then we showed her the Errol Flynn version, and she just lost her mind of how silly it was. Because I was doing reading some trivia on IMDb about that, and the stuntmen were paid $100 extra every scene that they were in because they were being shot at with real arrows.
Oh God!
Jeez.
Like they had wooden boards, like balsa wood boards, in their chest and in their back, so they could take the arrow. But that doesn't change the fact that they are still being fucking shot with fucking arrows.
Yeah.
And heaven forbid they get one in the head.
Oh God! Yeah, just some dude gets one in the eye, and it's like, oh well. Hopefully, he was one of the orphans that's owned by the studio.
Yeah, I watched the making of when it aired on television, and they talked about how, cows used to be smaller. So when they were getting cows for background shots, they tried to get small cows. And like one day on the set, somebody turns to Kevin Costner and is like, "I dare you to shoot that rabbit prop that's hanging from over there." And he takes his bow and he draws an arrow, fires, and he actually hits it. They're like, "Do it again." He's like, "No."
Yeah, that's my one moment. I'm not going to do it again. Yep.
I was lucky I did that. I'm going to take it and step away.
Yeah, I just remember like everybody losing their shit over Sean Connery's 10-second cameo.
Yep.
Oh
yep.
yeah.
I was with a group of guys that were doing that too. You know what though? All right, I have to kind of backtrack on something. I said that really the main reason to love this movie is Alan Rickman. Morgan Freeman, I don't feel gets enough love for this movie. I think Morgan Freeman is one of because he is literally there just rolling his eyes at all the silly white people.
Yeah, but yeah.
It really is if you really want to break it down, if you want to describe a movie badly, Morgan Freeman rolls his eyes at a bunch of silly white people.
Yeah, the whole, and then you called my people barbarians.
Yes. How do you go? Yeah.
I was just going to say, there's a couple of reasons why I do have a lot of fondness for Prince of Thieves, mainly because it gave us Men in Tights, and I will always be great. Well, partially gave us Men in Tights because Men in Tights has come from other things as well, but and obviously I did an episode of Men in Tights plug. But I remember, 'cause I didn't see this at the cinema because I was quite young when this came out.
Yeah.
But I remember this being one of the movies that my dad bought us on VHS. And I used to watch this so much when I was a kid. And a lot of the stuff was quite inappropriate for a kid my age as well. But I have a lot of fondness for this movie for a few reasons. The first reason is obviously Alan Rickman. This was the first thing I ever saw Alan Rickman in, and I basically fell in love with him completely. The way that he delivers the lines, I'm going to cut your heart out with a spoon, and all of those, I can't do this with all this racket, and then you kind of realise when you grow up and you get older, you realise he's forcing marriage upon this woman and he's going to rape her, and all of that stuff. And then you kind of think, oh, this was not really suitable for a kid to watch. But I do have a lot of fondness for it, but I also appreciate the anachronisms.
Yeah.
I mean, there's loads of them. I don't appreciate them in the way that I think they're forgivable, because I don't. But one of the things that I always kind of think of this movie very fondly for is the fact that genuinely I did not know what Islam was until I saw this movie. And I obviously didn't realise that, obviously I knew that Azim came from a different country. And then because obviously he mentions Allah, and I didn't know what that was. And I remember as a kid, I actually looked that up, and I realised, the basic fundamental things of Islam that obviously I didn't get taught when I was a kid. So essentially, my basic knowledge of Islam came from Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves. And I know that sounds ridiculous to say it now, because obviously I don't base my whole knowledge of the Islamic faith on this movie. But this movie introduced me to a religion that I knew nothing about. And it also introduced me to it in a really positive way, because Azim was, a really positive character. He had really good principles. He was basically, look, you saved my life, so I will stick with you until I save your life. And so I thought, actually, I've been thinking about it. I realised that actually having that positive influence in, you know, the Muslim faith as a young kid was actually probably a good thing and something to actually praise Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves for, because traditionally Islamic characters are not really served very well in movies because they're usually the terrorist, you know, or the generic bad guy. But for me, realising, you know, watching this movie, reading some books in the library about Islam and realising about the faith and everything like that was actually a positive thing that came from this movie for me. Apart from, you know, all of the raping and pillaging and all of that stuff. But it is a ridiculous movie. Kevin Costner doesn't speak with an English accent, but I've got a lot of fondness for it. But it is mainly for Alan Rickman and additionally, like Andy said, Morgan Freeman. I think both of them are absolutely fantastic in this movie. And obviously, like I say, I always appreciate Christian Slater because he's hot.
And can we take just 1 minute or so to talk about Michael McShane as Friar Tuck?
Oh,
yes.
Yeah. I think this is the first time I really got a good look at, like, drunk Friar Tuck.
Well, before this, I'd only known Michael McShane from Whose Line Is It Anyway?
Whose Line Is It Anyway, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I saw this before I saw him on that, and I was like, trying to figure out, I suddenly went, oh, that's Friar Tuck!
Nice.
But yeah, he's so funny.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to the number 2 movie of
Is this your finger?
The number 2 movie of the year with $204.8 million. Steve says, no discussion of Terminator 2 is complete without acknowledging the groundbreaking CGI effects. Though primitive by today's standards, they in no way detract from what will well be made and thoroughly entertaining experience. 10 years from now, we'll be having the same conversation about Weta Workshop's work on Lord of the Rings as important stepping stones in the history of the science that art historians will discuss for centuries, which is why what George Lucas did to Star Wars is a tragedy, and why haven't you released the originals, Uncle Walt? We were good. You promised.
At this point, I think we have to just wait for Lucas to die.
Perhaps.
I do have the originals on DVD. They were released special as like.
Yeah, I got those as well.
Yeah, as do I. All right. What are our thoughts on T2 Judgment Day?
So this other guy, he's a Terminator like you, right?
Not like me. A T-1000. Advanced prototype.
You mean more advanced than you are?
Yes. And mimetic polyalloy.
What the hell does that mean?
Liquid metal.
Where are we going?
We have to get out of the city immediately and avoid the authorities.
Listen, I gotta stop by my house. I want to pick up some stuff.
Negative. The T-1000 will definitely try to reacquire you there.
You sure?
I would.
It is really good.
You could call it groundbreaking in a lot of ways.
Visually, this movie is fantastic. Em?
I love Terminator 2. I think it's absolutely phenomenal. I think it's groundbreaking in so many ways. I think, while I do think that some of the effects, obviously the CG effects, because they were very early CG, they have aged. And I think that, yes, we do have to acknowledge that CG effects do age. But even then, the quality of the effects that they do actually use in this movie, it's really great as well, because although the effects are necessary for the movie, you can't have the T-1000 without the fact that when you shoot him, it basically, you get the metal, molten metal effect, which I think still looks overall really great. I kind of feel like Terminator 2 Judgment Day would work without that, because I think it's just such a solid story, and still so relevant to today and to our reliance on AI and all of that sort of stuff. I often do believe that Skynet is real, and the machines are going to rise at some point in the near future. And Terminator 2 Judgment Day warned us in 1991 about the machine uprising, and we basically took it as a joke, and we made a movie about it and was like, oh, it's a really good movie, but it's never going to happen. And I think in a few years' time, I think we're going to be, you know, cowering to our machine overlords, and we're going to be like, shit, we should have paid attention to that movie. And also, I think Linda Hamilton, I know that everyone kind of lauds Arnold Schwarzenegger for this movie because he is fantastic. He truly is great in the movie. Linda Hamilton is superb. I fully believe Linda Hamilton as a trauma victim, as a mother, as someone who knows what the future holds and is trying to fix it. I think this is an incredible movie, and honestly, I haven't got it planned on the schedule, but I will be talking about Terminator 2 Judgment Day at some point. I definitely prefer it to the first movie as well. I don't know what the rest of you think in comparison to
not even a comparison.
Okay, cool. It's an incredible movie.
Unfortunately, I believe this is also the movie that made James Cameron believe he could do no wrong.
If I had anything to gripe about this movie, and I think it's a really excellent movie, the dialogue in this movie is pure Cameron. Cameron can't write dialogue at all.
And you know what? No, he doesn't. He never gets really mentioned with this movie, but Robert Patrick is fantastic as the T-1000.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And Joe Morton as Miles Dyson is also great.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's Joe Morton.
Yeah,
it's just great.
But yeah, I think this movie's fantastic. It definitely deserves, Mike. This definitely is one of those movies that deserves like the full retro movie review.
Oh yeah,
and I know obviously we're gonna get it. We're gonna get a verbal diorama on it as well. So excellent.
And you know what? I would say we do this 1-2 punch with Terminator and Terminator 2 because I mean Terminator 1 is not as good as this one, but it's still a fair movie.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I'm down. I can do that at some point. I love a lot of Pixar movies to get through. Yeah.
The stuff that they had to cut from the original movie for time. It's fun to like watch the deleted scenes. Yeah. And you know, it's like, oh, how are we gonna get like, you know, we have to do this whole fake mirror thing, and Linda Hamilton was like, I have a twin sister.
Well, that's the same thing with the security guard in the asylum.
Right.
Security guard in the asylum has a twin brother. They always appear in movies together because you always need to have a double. Or in Gremlins 2, they were both just twins.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like they did have Michael Biehn like in a dream sequence, and then they decided, you know, having him hold her up is not as good as her just having the strength on her own. But when they were interviewing him about it, he was in like he had grown his mustache for Tombstone. So the interview with him, I'm like, wow, that's a look, because it was before Tombstone came out.
Right. Awesome. All right. Well, let's move on to the final movie of this part of the conversation here. And this is really the only one I was actually able to get full worldwide numbers on. So in the U.S., it brought in $145.8 million. Worldwide, it took $248.8 million. And according to Steve, this was the year a cartoon got nominated for Best Picture, and all the old people in Hollywood crapped their pants in terror. Beauty and the Beast.
Yep.
Gaston, what a pleasant surprise.
Isn't it, though? I'm just full of surprises. You know, Belle, there's not a girl in town who wouldn't love to be in your shoes. This is the day... This is the day your dreams come true.
What do you know about my dreams, Gaston?
Plenty. Here, picture this. A rustic hunting lodge, my latest kill roasting on the fire, and my little wife, massaging my feet, while the little ones play on the floor with the dogs. We'll have 6 or 7.
Dogs?
No, Belle. Strapping boys like me.
Imagine that.
Do you know who that little wife will be?
Let me think.
You, Belle.
Gaston, I'm speechless. I really don't know what to say.
Say you'll marry me.
I'm very sorry, Gaston, but I just don't deserve you.
Whoa!
I'm curious in terms of this era of Disney. So starting at The Little Mermaid, ending at Tarzan. Where does this one sit for y'all?
It probably, for me, it sits number 3.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd say number 2 or 3.
Like, I loved it at the time, but I've gotten less fond of it over the years.
Yeah, for me, number 1 and number 2 will always be Aladdin and Lion King interchangeably.
Yeah, easily.
Am?
I think I'm just trying to think about what position I'd put it at, because Disney Renaissance was obviously the Disney that I grew up with. So I have such a fondness and a love for Aladdin that Aladdin would always be my number 1, because I watched Aladdin more than any other Disney movie during this period. And then when it comes to number 2, I feel like The Lion King is the better movie.
Yeah.
But Beauty and the Beast is the movie that I've seen more than The Lion King. And to me, it's slightly more enjoyable. I can't even say the songs are better in Beauty and the Beast, because The Lion King's got some absolute bangers. But I think I just feel like that it's a bit Sophie's choice. I couldn't choose between the two. But I kind of love them both for very different reasons. But I am, as I kind of repeatedly say on Verbal Diorama, I am a huge fan of animation.
Mm.
And for me, Beauty and the Beast is probably one of, or if not the most beautiful looking Disney Renaissance movie. I think it's absolutely impeccable. Everything that they do with the art of this movie, I think, is stunning. I rewatched it recently, I think back in April. And I'm still blown away by how good looking this movie is.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. It's, you know, the little CG touches that are in there, they obviously made a big deal about, you know, they still do to an extent, about the ballroom and the chandelier and yeah, that looks fine. Like, I'd never say that looks brilliant. I think it looks fine. To me, the traditional animation in this movie is absolutely impeccable. I genuinely think, despite the issues that I have, you know, with some of the fundamentals of the actual Beauty and the Beast story, because I do have issues with that. But as an advertisement for what traditional Disney animation could do, I genuinely don't think there's anything better looking than Beauty and the Beast.
I think when it comes to just like 2D animation, you would be hard pressed to find anything more stunning and beautiful than the Beast transformation at the end.
Yeah, with the little the things kind of coming out, the pulses of light coming out of his joints, and it's absolutely stunning. The rose, you know, when the petals of the rose and they glow, and then as they wilt, the glow kind of goes. It's actually really, if you watch Beauty and the Beast, a lot of the techniques that they used, they actually simulated the multi-plane camera that was obviously used at the start of Disney, where you had the multiple planes of stills and the camera kind of goes through them. That's all like simulated to kind of harken back to that age of Disney, because they really wanted it to have that feel of something like Sleeping Beauty or Snow White or something like that. And it's absolutely beautiful.
Well, this is really. I think this was like the first Disney movie to make extensive use of computer generated animation.
Yeah,
especially with the ballroom dancing scene with Beauty and the Beast, and it really kind of laid the groundwork for a lot going forward, especially for like Lion King, where the Stampede was all computer generated, but put into a 2D space.
I mean, technically speaking, the first Disney animated movie to make use of computers is
Black Cauldron.
The Rescuers Down Under.
Black Cauldron came out first, though. There is some use of
really?
CG in the yes. It's very minor. It's very minor.
Not to the extent that Beauty and the Beast used it, where
an
entire scene was made.
Right.
Yeah.
But so my take on this is that I'm with Catherine, where it's just like there are movies that will overtake it in terms of where I regard Beauty and the Beast. But my focus as of late, in like the last 5 or 6 years, has completely moved over to Gaston. Because Gaston really is the star of this movie. He's the villain of the piece, but he's also the star of this entire movie. And if you go to Disney World, the wine moms are all about Gaston. It's like the most popular meet and greet.
Well, I mean, that's easily the most fun I'm sure any cast member has ever had. Because you just get to act like Gaston, and that's just a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, and also as a follow-up to The Little Mermaid, I mean, it's just like, everybody credits The Little Mermaid with the Renaissance, but the Beauty and the Beast is like, oh, well, Disney just surpassed themselves. This is incredible.
Right.
But you're right. As years go on, and then you see like, okay, the Lion King and everything else that follow on after that, you're like, oh, okay, maybe the Beauty and the Beast isn't as great as people thought it was.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, what's really the most interesting, I think, about the movie is, like you said, with Gaston, is just seeing how Gaston and the Beast's trajectory are pretty much exact opposites of each other. As the Beast becomes more human, Gaston becomes more beast-like.
Yes.
Yeah.
So what's everyone's favourite song from this movie?
Ooh.
Oh, it's Gaston. Hands down, it's Gaston. I love singing that song.
Yeah, for me, it's Beauty and the Beast, because Angela Lansbury can do no wrong with that song. Yeah. And she did it all in like pretty much one take, too, so that's pretty amazing.
Because
anyway,
for me it would be Be Our Guest.
Be Our Guest is a fun song.
Yes.
I think it's super fun. I genuinely love it. But also Beauty and the Beast actually, so there's a couple of there's only a handful of movies that have ever been nominated for 3 best song Oscars. So Beauty and the Beast actually is one of those, along with The Lion King, Dreamgirls, and Enchanted. And they basically brought a new rule in at the Academy in 2008, meaning a film could only have a maximum of 2 songs nominated. Yeah. Because basically, movies like Beauty and the Beast, the songs were so good, and they pretty much are all bangers in this as well. Yeah. I do like Gaston because I think it encompasses the toxic masculinity of a character so perfectly. But for me, Be Our Guest is just such an amazing song. And Jerry Orbach as well is so good in this movie. I mean, pretty much everyone. I often kind of find with movies that have singing, that a lot of the issue that I had with the recent live action remake of Beauty and the Beast, which I thought was okay. I didn't think it was spectacular. But the main issue that I had with it was the songs. Because obviously the cast did their own singing, which is fine. Like, they had perfectly fine voices. Emma Watson, perfectly fine singing voice. But she wasn't Paige O'Hara.
No.
Right.
And when you've got a song like Belle, for example, you really want someone who can belt it out of the park, because this is her big I Want song. This is basically the typical Disney I want song. This is what I want. I want adventure in the great wide somewhere. I want it more than I can tell. But with Emma Watson, I was like, but does she really want it? I just didn't feel that from her. Whereas this animated version, I genuinely feel. Although I do have a gripe with it, that Belle has this wish to have adventure in the great wide somewhere, but she ends up being married. And I mean, fine, okay, I'm pretty certain that maybe her and the prince could go off and do adventures and what, but that wasn't her want. She wanted to get out of this small provincial town. She wanted to get into the world. She wanted to learn. She wanted to create. That was what she really wanted to do. And then she's just like, nah, I'm just going to marry a dude. So I was like, okay, well, I mean, fair enough. She's probably one of the more modern princesses that Disney has, but yeah, I do have issue with, I want adventure. Nah, I just want to get married.
Yeah. Isn't that what it's all about? So anyway, let's wrap up this conversation, and we're going to move on to part 2, which will be available in about a week. But before we close out part 1, Em, tell our audience where they can find you.
I mean, if anyone does want to hear me rant about certain movies, I mean,
and who wouldn't?
Feel free. So you can find Verbal Diorama on your generic podcast app of choice, whether that's Apple or Google or Spotify or any of the big or small names in podcasting that are out there. You can also find me on social media. I am at Verbal Diorama on Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook. So come hit me up. Let's talk about some movies. I do talk a lot, and a lot of the time it's to myself. So I'm always happy to talk to other human beings about movies. So yeah, just come and talk to me.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you. And you can find us pretty much wherever you find Em's podcast. We are here as well. You can follow us on Twitter at Geek Salad Radio and on Facebook at Geek Salad Podcast. Check out our YouTube channel, Geek Salad Podcast, where we do weekly movie reviews. We just last night recorded one last night. This episode will be released a few weeks from now. But we just did Hudson Hawk with our friend Thomas from the Movies After Work podcast, and a movie we will be talking about in part 2. So
yeah, we did.
Yeah. So until next time, I'm Andy.
I'm Mike.
I'm Joe.
I'm Catherine.
And Em will be returning for part 2. We will talk to you in about a week. And go forth and be nerdful. Talk to you later.
Bye.
Who's the man among men? Who's the super success? Don't you know? Can't you guess? Ask his fans and his 5 hangers on. There's just one guy in town who's got all of it down. And his name's G-A-S-T. I believe there's another T. It just occurred to me that I'm illiterate and I've never actually had to spell it out loud before. Gaston!
Put the fucking lotion in the basket!